Welcome to You, Me and IT, the podcast taking us behind the title of some of the leading individuals in the IT channel. I'm Karlton Gray, UK and Ireland Channel Director at Schneider Electric, and in each episode I'll be speaking to leading figures in one of the UK's most prominent industries. For this episode, I'm pleased to welcome someone who shares my passion for building more of an inclusive IT community and champions the next generation to shape their personal journey and success in the industry. Ian Kilpatrick, co-founder and chair at Tech Channel Ambassadors. Hello and welcome. Thank you for coming down. I know we've had a little chat beforehand, but we spoke once before, once again on Teams to set this up, and this is the first time I'm actually engaging with you. It'd be great to understand a little bit about you, to be honest here, and like just bed in and we'll go through the motions, I would say, but understand a little bit about you and who you are, if that makes any sense.
Thank you for the invite and the opportunity. So my parents were economic migrants from Glasgow, so I grew up there. My dad came down as a mechanic, as a electrical engineer, and gradually worked his way up through sheer bloody mindedness, I guess, to a huge position in British Aerospace, and was actually seconded to the Admiralty. Okay. So he was a huge overachiever, but a challenging person to have as a dad, I think is the best way of describing that. A very challenging person to have as a dad. Where do I go from there? So when I was at school, primary school, I was fine. When I went to secondary school, it was an independent school in Reading, Christian Brothers, and to be fair, I underachieved by a considerable distance. Yeah. All my reports were could do better, interesting in class, but could do better. My passion was athletics. That's what I used to do during the week, and I had a great coach. Just again, I was a child, so I had no idea what I had, but he was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, taught a whole bunch of us. We had a great time, and he got me, and then subsequently a lot of other people, through to international standard. Okay. So I owe him a lot, and a lot for making it so much fun. Yeah. And I did steeplechase, so I was in the top 10 for 800 meters, top 10 for 3,000 meters, top 10 for 5,000 meters. So back at the school, I slithered along. I didn't apply myself. So between the problems I had at home with my dad and the realization that I was going to come out, so this was January, the realization I was going to come out with absolutely rubbish grades, if at all, and in a time when there was a shortage of jobs. So I decided to leave school, leave home at the same time, which is what I did. I have a bunch of O-levels, or GCSEs now, but no A-levels, didn't go to university, was homeless for a while, and then the one teacher at the school who had really engaged with me got in touch with me through some of the kids at school and said, like, you need to talk to your parents. Just do that for me. Yeah. Doesn't matter if you go home, but just talk to your parents, tell them you're all right. And so I went home, went back to my parents, and stumbled into a job in accountancy.
How old was you when you left? Because I appreciate it's about 14, 15 or 16, but school's now till 18 odd. So when...
I was about 17 then.
Yeah.
So, and what a job. I have to say, I loved that job so much. My boss was great, so I called him sir, he wouldn't answer. You have to call me by my Christian name, Patrick. He just taught me to do stuff, and of course the job in internal audit in a council is to go in somewhere and have the authority to ask to see the stuff. So I got involved in chasing down, difficult to say, but I guess it's the truth. They're criminals. So people who were stealing from the council, the guy that was in charge of the car parks was on the take, and I kept finding bits and stopping bits, and I go down and have coffee with him. Yeah. And I'm still tracking him down and he won in the end. My boss said, you need to get a new job now. And it's like, no, I love this. I really love this job. And he went, no, the way you get progression in a council is to go get another job, but there's nobody going to leave here, so you need to go somewhere else. Wow. And so that was quite a shock because I loved it. And then he said, okay, well, you've got two choices. You can get another job in another council, or, given that you're so young, you could get a job in industry and see whether you like industry. That was the end of my dreams or desires of being in a council job. It was just such a different world.
It's weird. It's not the same as that, by the way. I was never homeless. I could always go back. I left home quite early, but I could always go back if there was a problem, like I did when I got a bit older. But I had a lady called Janet. Janet Cantwell was her name. I remember I worked at Abbey in Aldgate, and I used to be a photocopier. Call it what you want. They were saying you're a lead visual operator or whatever, but I was just photocopying microfilms all day, like video. Looking for fraudulent checks and then pressing print, and you had to do 75 a day or something. But she was, again, like a second mum at work. She used to make sure on a Friday she'd go on then, like you can be let out early. She'll do my card, so stamp the card early, so I was able to. But yeah, I think through your journey, I think you try to emulate some of the people you take a little bit of those people into your day to day. And I don't think she was doing anything on purpose. I just think that was her persona, and she was just always, she could see like if you're having a rough day, or if as a young lad you wanted to go out and have a beer, but you're skint, so she always made sure that you were okay. So, but yeah, lovely lady, to be fair. I don't know where she is now, but yeah, sorry to cut. So
yeah, no, so
you moved into industry. So what was that? So when you're saying you moved into
Texas Instruments, I joined the Texas Instruments supply organization, which sold stuff, and again, I had a great boss. It was great. It was a great team. It was just wonderful. It was like it was like going out for the evening, quite frankly, going into work. We used to have a great time. So anyway, I learned a lot about life and the challenges of managing a team of people where people had different demands that they would change as they went along. So it was great. I was managing a team of people at, I don't know, 18, coming up 19.
And then you moved into another accountancy firm, or what?
It wasn't an accountancy firm, but yeah, another accounting job. So I went to a job in a company in Windsor, and I went as assistant accountant. Then I've just been really fortunate, really, really fortunate with meeting people. I went to a recruitment company and said, I need to find a job to do stuff. And they went through this whole process. And this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to find another small company and do this stuff with that. And they went, no, you don't really. You need, for your CV and for your growth and everything else, you need to work in a larger company. And they found me a larger company. And so I worked for a company called Crane Packing. And I was an assistant so stepping up a grade as you go along here this time. So I'm assistant to the chief accountant in a multinational. I was in charge of the finance for that for about 9 months. And I joined a company called Lytton, which was then Fortune 50 company. And I was at their UK marketing arm. So they marketed all their products across the UK. And they were very much into precision engineering, microwave technology, optical technology.
Was it easier to move and bounce into different roles, or was it, because you said there was a job shortage, was it difficult then, or was it?
So accountancy tries to keep people out.
Okay.
So as you go up that accountancy chain, there are less people doing it. There are less people at different levels on that chain. I guess the other piece was, and this is one of the things we talk about in terms of women particularly, but not just women, but imposter syndrome. I never had the imposter syndrome. I had that syndrome that I'm not sure I've done this job before, any of those jobs. I hadn't done any of those jobs before. And I applied for them and I explained to them, I think, I've done the stuff and this covers it. And the things I've done here puts me in respect to do it. And they'd, so I guess, if we really cut to the chase, probably blagged my way into a number of these jobs. So, not probably, actually, I did blag my way into them and found that, it was a bit stretchy. I was then in charge of their finances, finance officer for them. And that was fun and exciting, and you learn so much when you're doing all this stuff. I've always been fortunate in places where I've been given that authority and support as to how to do it.
When I was stalking your LinkedIn profile, you've done a lot of jobs along the way. Those aren't on your LinkedIn, but so you said you had your own business. So what was that?
Well, that was it. So I worked there for a couple of years, had a great time. I left there. It's kind of time to move on. I've been there a couple of years. So one thing in accounts is, and I guess it's still the same today, is as you progress up, then you start to move to other jobs. So you've got a time frame. If you hire somebody, they're going to be with you 2 to 3 years, then they'll move on. It's a bit like it is in distribution. So it was my time for me to think to move on, and the next job would be a financial director somewhere. And I'd always had this hankering to do something for myself. So I set up with this partner. We set up a financial management consultancy, and again, I know I keep talking about luck, but it's I've been just so fortunate in all the things that have happened. It's like it is just good fortune. It's nice I can and I achieve stuff there, but actually finding them, I fell into places that were just
Luck is so important.
yeah. So we ended up, somebody then hired us. I can't even remember how the link. Anyway, so we were dealing with, on the one hand, we're dealing with shops and banks and not banks, shops and pubs and stuff like that, and dealing with the guys, small businesses, and telling them how to run some of their business and helping with the financial structures and helping them doing the stuff. And on the other hand, we've got clients like a multinational. I was dealing with a guy called Alan Brush, who was the guy that owned where Stansted Airport is. And I'll be careful slightly on this, but actually nothing happened legally at the time, so it's not going to happen now. But effectively, when they were talking about using Stansted Airport, the bank foreclosed on his business with like 48 hours notice. Like the stuff when you sign up for a loan, they can always pull it back whenever they like. They did.
Wow.
So he couldn't get the money together. So he lost his business. And so I was doing stuff with him with the official receiver, not just a receiver, the official receiver. And then I've dealt with another guy that was fifth in line for the Saudi throne, and is dealing with horses at Newmarket. So I'm learning so much doing that. It was just so much fun. So I gradually migrated over. I sold a house I had to fund this business, because it was just so much fun. I sold my financial management consultancy to my partner and bailed out from that and got into this, and because it's just wonderful, and then that was, we were selling globally, sounds posh, but there was only like 500 in the world, and it was just so much, so different.
My boss always said to me, what's the worst that can happen? More than they know, just go for it. And I remember I picked up the phone and I said, it's about a product called NetBots. And I was like temperature, humidity, but you had some software in the back of it. I've never been so panicked, because I got put on a call and I thought everything was great. And then all of a sudden, you talk about global, that's what it triggered is, you had boom, boom, boom. And what it was is, hi, I'm such and such from America. Hi, I'm such and such for this place, that place. A global call that everyone joined up for. I'd been in the business for about 3 weeks. I didn't really have a clue what I was looking at, like a data sheet in front of me. I rang a guy called Lee and was like, please help me. And luckily Lee was available, got on the call. But I think that's the first time I thought, oh my God, you're talking, because I wasn't talking previously to end users. And that was the first time when it kicked in. I thought, oh my God, this is, when you think this is not big time, but it's a challenge now rather than before. Distribution for me, I found quite easy, because you have to know, you need to skim the top of every product, whereas you didn't have to know the ins and outs, the buttons. Whereas when you're at the manufacturer, there's an expectancy from your partners that you're going to be able to solve majority of their problems. But it was, but sorry, so
no, but that's interesting, because that actually brings the point about knowing, if you know more than everybody else, even if it's just a little bit of a small thing, then you're the expert in the room. Yeah, and then so we built up. We bought our competitor in the UK. Our turnover went from 2 to 4 million. When buying them from 2 to 4 million. The next year it went up to 6, just because we weren't fighting each other. And that's how I got into distribution. It's a long, convoluted story as to how I got into distribution. And what was great was when I sold Wickhill, we still had people who'd been with us from the beginning.
You've given sort of, which is great, like the background from, I know it's tough growing up and work, you've given like a work journey, but like the first time I met you properly was at the Doug Woodburn's
Oxygen.
chat. I can't remember what the name of it was, the Under Leaders or what, but you spoke around some of the stuff that you do now, which I thought was amazing. Like generally, like touched the nerve with what I think what we should all be doing. We spoke about that before, but I just wanted to sort of bring that conversation in because I think it's, for me, it's sort of what I aspire. I'd love to be in the position to be able to do that more, like what you do. But for the people that are listening, just given a sort of a view of what you're doing at the moment and what you're trying to do and what your views are on why, you know what I mean? Like just a general overview of it, if that makes any sense.
Sure. And that's slightly complicated because there's a whole bunch of, some of it is I want to give back.
Yeah.
Some of it is the recognition of privilege. I was very lucky. I keep using that, but I was very fortunate. My parents used to send me up to Glasgow because they worked full time, send me up to Glasgow during the summer holidays. So I'm going to an independent school and then I'm going up to Glasgow and I'm running the streets in the tenements, with one toilet shared between 4 flats. So it's like 20 people using one toilet, no bathrooms. You have to go to public baths. And so you kind of become very aware of how privileged you are.
Yeah.
I think you look at some people who have privilege and they don't recognize the life experience of other people.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's, as part of what we did in distribution, we brought people in from all other places and we trained them up. And part of it, back to this thing about if you know a lot about a specialist topic, then that's all you need to know. So we do, if you understand the 40 buzzwords around the product set in distribution, you're sorted.
Yeah.
So we brought people in and people came to us from hospitality and other areas, and they're part of a diverse group.
Yeah.
We look at other people and other companies and they weren't, or they had a bad approach, I guess is the best way to say it. And for me, the bottom line on this is, in what I did and what we all did as a team, was you're going to have to work 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So it can either be a pain, it can be a drudge, or it can be fun. And part of that whole thing was, let's make sure that everyone does what they need to do. Let's all have fun together and let's respect everybody. We would hire people and whoever can do the job does the job.
Yeah.
And then we wish them the best when they get poached and go on somewhere else, or when they leave. It's not just poaching, it's like you bring people through, you develop them, you allow them to grow and learn.
Yeah.
And at some point they're going to, well, not at some point, for many of them, within a short period of time, particularly the younger ones, they'll leave and get a job somewhere else, which is great.
It's all, but that's part of it, isn't it? It's like you want to develop and have an impact, on a positive impact. And I'm not saying I've been held back in my career, like some of, like, I've been championed, I would say, a lot of the time. Sometimes people don't want to lose people because of the quality they bring to the team, but that's not fair because that person is on their journey to grow.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult, as almost for me now, especially as a manager. I have some great people leave my team, and honestly, it's gutting. But when you see the next person come in and develop and get to that point of the same, and you're like, told you could do it, to that person, it gives you a good feeling. But then that person goes, right, I'm looking to move somewhere else. Oh no, start again. But if you're honest with yourself and you want to be treated as you wish to be treated, you putting a blocker in front of someone I think it's a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
But it is what it is sometimes. But on the same vein, I would say it's a definite swing, 60-40. Like I've been helped more than I've been hindered. So, but I was once told, like I said before, that I would never be a manager. I was a punt, and I was like, yeah, look at me now. Like, I know it sounds really pushy, but
No.
I'm almost like, I want the best for people, not the best for my back pocket, 100%. I want to get paid, but I also want other people around me to share that wealth. I think that's really important. So obviously now you've moved into new roles and new bits. So like I said, you're still running about, you're still everywhere. But what's sort of the end goal? What do you want?
So the end goal's huge, and it's not going to happen. But the end goal is the bottom line is we as a channel don't have a strategy, right? So I've been in the channel for 40 years. It's 100 plus. It's close to 180 billion pound industry that nobody's heard of. 6 people out of all the people I've asked actually had a plan to be in the channel.
That's crazy.
Right. Everybody else found it by didn't view it as a career, and didn't know it existed as a career, and then fell into it in some way, shape, manner, or form. We talk about diversity, and a lot of the things around diversity is, and we're seeing some of the stresses on diversity now. But one of the things around diversity isn't actually a corporate edict. It should be something that people want to do. So it's good that people are doing it, but actually they're doing it in many cases. Many people are doing it through a bureaucratic requirement. It all became, I was a judge in Women in the Channel, and asking the women, I'd say, what would help us? What do you think we could be doing better, to get more women into the IT? And they go, start earlier.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
And now I started looking at the stats, and you're looking at the stats where it's not just girls, it's whole groups of people, minorities, economically disadvantaged, neurodiverse. They're all disengaging from considering IT.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do IT. I don't do coding.
Yeah.
I don't do maths.
But that's what everyone thinks. Automatically, you need to be in IT. It's like anything that breaks in my mum's house, I get a phone call and she'll say, "Can you fix this?" I'm like, "How the hell I'm not. I work within the IT bubble, but."
And we realised that, we recognised that we need to get into socially disadvantaged, social mobility foundation school sets where they've got multiple ranges of discriminatory factors against them effectively.
Just a mix of people.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how I got into it. So that's that piece of, we need to start at one end. So, and by the way, this comes down from the top. At the top, we should have a strategy.
Yeah.
And we should have a digital strategy. So we need digital skills. But actually the digital skills we're being taught aren't really an agreed set of digital skills. So if you actually look at somebody's digital skills, there's no piece where you think, as an employer, oh, you've done this lot, you've got enough digital skills to it. You're finding people who don't have all those digital skills. Nobody's talking to the government saying, we want to grow this business. And by the way, in 10 years' time, 5 years' time, if you go into a shop now, or if you go to a stall somewhere, they'll come out and they'll go like, oh, it's not a good wireless signal here, but I'll move over there because the mast's over there. That's a level of digital knowledge. And yet we haven't got an engagement with government. We haven't got engagement with education. And here's an interesting fact. It's an interesting question. I'll ask it as a question. How many employment secretaries did we have between 2018 and 2022?
I couldn't tell you.
Take a guess.
No, because it'd be wildly wrong. It would either be
8.
So and repeat. So
2018 to 2022.
We've got 8.
8. Yep. 8. So you've got time to come in, understand where your desk is, understand who's sitting outside your office door, start to read the paperwork about education. No, we've got another job for you somewhere else. Come on, have another one. So we haven't got a proper strategy from government. We haven't got a proper strategy in the channel about how we address that. And when people like the big vendors do talk to government, they talk about themselves, not about the channel. So inherently, we've got a problem, is we don't have a strategy. We don't have people pushing that strategy forward. We don't have a government strategy that's doing the stuff, so it's out of date. And by the way, in kids, we're watching 80%, 90% of people discounting a job in the IT channel because they don't do IT.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of piece that myself and the other co-founders went through and thought about, how do we change this? My thoughts around this is we need to get ambassadors, these volunteers, to go and spend. And what we're looking for is about 3 hours, minimum 3 hours a year, which is
Nothing.
it's less. It's less than most people spend on their phone in a day.
Yeah.
Who are going to be watching this. So that's visit one school, visit 2 schools, and that's about, we find a school for them within about half an hour of where they're based. It's only going to be about a 25-minute pitch, and so it's an hour and a half twice a year, and one of them should be to a school in the Social Mobility Foundation register. And I'll just drift off away from that. We talk about the issues about diversity in the channel. We are not a diverse channel.
It's too late by the time we attack.
Philosophically, the people who were in the channel are the people who found the channel, who've fallen into our goldfish bowl, which is wonderful, and it's great. And by the way, it is great, because how many people leave?
No.
We never hear people going like, "Oh, sorry, it's actually much better over in financial services. We're all off over there."
Yeah.
We're not. Everybody, everybody I know in the channel from like 10 years ago is still here.
Yeah, they might be in a different role, but they're still in the channel.
Yeah.
And it offers you so many different roles. Yeah.
Yeah. This 90% that we lose here is a huge amount of diversity that we don't have, and we don't try and attract, that just goes.
Yeah.
So actually we're as diverse as the people who found us, but actually, to a large extent, that's not representative of the whole national diversity.
Yeah.
And if you're socially disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged, if you don't find this opportunity, you're not likely to. Whereas actually, for other people, like myself, I was privileged, so I was able to find it and had the opportunity to find it. But actually, they're not going to stumble into the channel.
No.
They're not mobile enough. They're not socially mobile enough to find the channel. To ever find a job which takes them. Oh, why don't you go to this agency? And by the way, they've got some jobs in the IT channel. And even if they do raise it to them, they're going to. I don't want to do IT. So that's the piece. So one piece is we need to go talk to kids and tell them about the opportunity. That's great. Year 7, year 8, 11, 12. And that's still late. People are making career choices, career thoughts, not choices, but career thoughts. You could be doing anything: sales, marketing, logistics, operations, customer service. All of those things are there. And even though the vision of AI is that AI will decimate jobs, actually, a lot of these jobs will be the same as the channel has always been. The channels didn't start off doing what we're doing now. It started off connecting up to mainframes, and there's still mainframes then today. So the channel has always changed with whatever the technologies are, and AI will affect how the jobs and roles are. But you still need to engage with people.
Yeah.
There's always new products coming through.
Yeah.
And so
you still need to market. You still need to, there's always, and I think, like you said, it's a lot of what we talk about day to day is the now.
Yeah.
But what we need to start looking at is, I sound like I made that up, but the future. Like, it's like, how do we impact on, and that's our value, by the way. Impact is part of parcel of Schneider, but it's how do we impact on the people coming through. And I think having that route, we do have like graduate programs, apprentice programs, but I was speaking to an apprentice yesterday, actually, that I booked in my diary just as a catch up, and came into the business, and she was like, I didn't really want to do sales, but I actually loved it. But I didn't realize that wasn't an available option. Like, she basically, by coming in, it opened her eyes and was like, whoa, I could do marketing. I can do a stint in this. I can do a stint in operation. And I think we need to allow more people to have that visibility, and show people that you can have fun in our role. You can, you said when it was great when you sat down, but it's a great place to be, especially when you're with the right team, right people. And like you said, most people leave the channel, leave to another role, and most people that I know that leave want to come back at some point. So from my perspective, where can you find out more about this?
So our domain is techchannelambassadors.org.
Okay, I'll pop that on the back of the pod so people can actually see where to go there. And I've already signed up, by the way. I've already done it.
I'm delighted. But and you'd be perfect.
Yeah. But I would love to. I think you get a lot out of it. It's not one-way street. It's
that's
maybe some people might say more for me than it is for the young people.
You're telling kids, and you'll be changing their life,
Potentially,
for the positive. And it's kids. So year 7 and year 8, they're really quite controlled. When you go up further into year 10, 11, it may be a bit different for people being an ambassador, but for kids, year 7, 11-year-olds, they're in there and listening and
it's free.
Participating.
It's 3 hours. It's nothing.
And on that, by the way, we find the school, we contact the school, and we come back to you and then say, we've found a school that within this catchment, they'd like to engage with you. So we're not asking people to actually go and find the school. I mean, if they've got a school they want to go to, they can tell us, but we'll actually make the join.
But I know, saying you've made it so easy. Like, it is easy to, and like I said, it's a little bit of your time that's going to maybe, even if it impacts on one kid or their parent, they say, oh, dad, mum, whatever. This guy came in and he was talking about the IT channel. Their mum or parents look online and they go, Christ, this is something new. So I think that's super important. What would you say people would say about you? Like, if you had 3 words people would describe you as.
3 words, that's a tough one. Hopefully, so I can only say hopefully.
Yeah.
But respectful, positive, and maybe dynamic. Maybe that's not sure about that third one, but hey.
No, I think you're making a change. It's a lot of people talk, but don't necessarily walk the walk. So, and what would you like your legacy to be? Like, what would you like people to say about you when you're not here, basically?
They helped change my life. That's the piece that I care about.
And the last thing is, you said that you was going to call out one person, and you've forgotten to do it.
I didn't mention Patrick Dodds.
Patrick Dodds, yeah. And whereabouts is Patrick based? Was
in Bracknell.
So I think it's important that he's helped you in your career, and I think
he changed my life.
Yeah, he changed your life. So you can be the Patrick Dodds of
Well, that was my goal. That's my aspiration has always been to be towards everybody that Patrick Dodds. He changed my life. I wouldn't be here doing this. I wouldn't be here today doing this without Patrick.
I'd like to say thank you for coming in. It's been a journey, listening, understanding more about you. So I really appreciate you coming in. Thank you very, very much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Best wishes. Really appreciate it.